Hello and happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Chalkboard Chats, where we talk all things teaching and everything in support of teachers. And today I wanted to discuss with you the things that I've discovered with time management and with grading, why on earth it takes so long. Um, I done two videos about this. If you look back, it's efficient admin. It is lesson planning and grading. But I realized later, I realized that there is three more things why grading can take so long. So I wanted to do that in a separate episode because it also pops up when I'm doing lesson planning. And now that I've become aware of the habit that I'm in, I have been able to really curb this and lesson planning and grading and all the other admin, doing all of these online reports that the school all of a sudden has started to do. I finished them in so much short amount of time than I used to. I used to take, like, I want to say hours, but it wouldn't necessarily be just one session of multiple hours. It would be 45 minutes here, and then I would stop because I would be sick and tired of it. And then I say, oh, you know what? I'll continue the next day. And then I would sit there another hour. Then it would still not be finished. And it would just add up. And now I'm able to sit down and get most of my things done in 20-minute sessions. So that's what I want to share with you today. Three reasons why, in particularly, grading can take so much time. And it's not the paper itself. It's not the test paper and the going back from what the student actually answered to the answer key. Those things can get done really quickly, but it's the in between time that I realized that my brain is kind of taking me on a little bit of like a meander. And instead of focusing on what was the answer and what is on the answer key, I noticed that when I'm doing grading, I have so many opinions about the test. I I will look through the test, and every time I see a student who I know knows these answers but make mistakes, I'm like, wait a minute, why are we asking it this way? Why has the school decided to put the questions in this way, to ask the student to fill in these questions? And why on earth are we doing it this way? Is this really the best way? Now, of course, as soon as I think, is this the best way? The answer is no. I have so many better ideas. But it takes a long time to notice the what is happening in the test, and then to get to the end of my it's like a mental stroll. It's like my mind is going for a walk, and instead of focusing on the test, it ends up somewhere along the lines of, when I was younger, this is what we did. And this can be like a 5-minute mental break. And the what I often see with my mind is that I have very strong opinions on how it should be different and how it can be a lot more efficient. And with that comes also always the frustration of, why is it this way? And I've talked about this in the past, where at some point you notice that you're arguing with reality. And as soon as I realized that I was doing that, I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. I don't need to take myself on this mental roundabout where I'm going for a walk and I end up somewhere completely frustrated and angry because this is the way that the test is done. I don't need to do that. So instead of letting myself wander that way, I start with the answer key and I look and I deliberately make a mental note of, yes, this is the way the test has been set up. Yes, this is the way they want to ask the students to fill in the gaps. Or yes, this is the way. At some point, there was a picture. I have to tell you this. there is a picture, and it's a listening test. And in this picture there are like five people. Let's say there are five people. One person is standing behind the couch, another one is sitting on the floor playing a game, and there's like above and underneath the picture there are five names. So they ask the student to listen and connect the name to a person, which it's a great exercise. But this is what it means. I have to follow the line. What students usually do is like they start with a pencil, and they start to draw the line. Halfway through, they're like, "Oh no, wait, it's not this name," and they go back down. Then they decide that they've made a mistake. Then they try to erase it. They do a bad job. Then the new line goes through it, and before I know it, I have this whole spider web filled with lines, and I am just spending all of my time trying to follow and trace the line from a picture of a person to a name and see if it's the correct one. And I was like, oh my God, seriously? You want your teachers to spend their time grading, just following the line, trying to decipher the students' answers? Ah, and this can be so frustrating, especially if it's a complete mess and you have half of the answers erased. And it gets even more frustrating where at the end of the test you realize that the student has done so poorly that maybe there are some points in this spider web for you to uncover, so that the student at least gets some points. And it's so frustrating. So you can spend a long time asking yourself, why on earth is the school doing it this way? And instead of spending a lot of time asking yourself, I have learned to tell myself that yes, this is the way the school has decided they want to do this. This is the way that they've set it up, and this is what we're being asked to do. Now, I can set, for the time being, all my issues and problems and opinions aside and just figure it out. Now, that gets me to point two. While grading, it's really hard not to get emotionally involved and invested in the answers, especially when I flip back and onto the name page and I see the name of the student and I have all of these ideas and thoughts, and I'm like, you were present when I explained it like this, and I remember you answering the question. So why did you make a mistake on the test? And it's so heartbreaking to see some of your top students who they know the answers well, and you see them make all these mistakes in the test. And that can be another mental roundabout that your brain is taking you on, because it's going into this spin of what happened to the student. Didn't they understand the question? Where was their attention? How is it possible that they forgot? Surely they remembered this. Surely they were present when we discussed this for like the second or the third time. They were present at review day. How is it possible that they make these mistakes? Did they do the tutoring? Like I signed them up for extra tutoring. And it's draining as well. Which gets me to point number three, is when you see a student make all these mistakes, it's often very easy to question ourselves. The questions pop up like, did I teach them well enough? How is it that they make these mistakes when we covered this a couple of times? Um, did I did I actually make sure, did we do that one activity? Did I make sure that we covered the answers as well? Or did I let them get away with a couple of mistakes? Um, and the spin that your brain invites you to go into, from did I do this well enough, to the point where you're wondering if you should be a teacher at all, because maybe after 5 or 10 tests you see that they constantly make the same mistake, and you're like, but wait a minute, what did I do? Is it up to me to take responsibility for how the student is doing? And then all of a sudden it's like half an hour later, you're like, oh, and I'm still grading. And it's then all of a sudden grading is draining, it is exhausting, and it takes so much longer. And I've done a test once with a class that wasn't mine, and it was so easy because I had no attachment to the students. I didn't know them. I didn't know their background. I had no investment in them. So I was standing on the sidelines and was very, very objective. And, but it also felt very strange. And I told the teacher at some point as well, I was like, it felt as if I was very harsh on the students because I literally looked at the answer key and at what they answered, and I was like, nope, this is not correct. Nope, you don't get the points for this. And I was like, but wait a minute, am I then a lot nicer to my students versus to students that are not mine? How is it that I can feel as if I am harshly grading a class that isn't mine, and I am going through this like emotional roller coaster when the class is mine? And I just stepped back and I was like, whoa, we, that's my dog, Josh. We are so involved, we are so invested. And when a student doesn't do well, we take on all of those emotions and we have so many thoughts about it. So here is my top tip to get through grading fast and efficiently. Every time you notice that your brain is going on this mental loop, make a mental note, make a, not a mental note, make an actual note of where did it go? What was it that you were thinking the moment you realized that you were not doing the grading? And the more you catch yourself, the more often you catch yourself, quote unquote, off topic of grading, the easier it is to give your brain like a, to take the wheel back, as to say, and to steer it back into the grading. Now, when you realize that you're going off on this tangent, don't beat yourself up. That's not the point of it. It's not to be hard on yourself. It's not to punish yourself or talk badly about yourself. It is just the awareness of your mind wants to go on this mental roundabout. And every time you notice, it's like, oh, wait, we don't have to do this. It's like you're waving yourself back. It's like, it's okay. We don't have to feel bad about ourselves. We're not going to question our teaching methods. This is not the time for it. Write down where you were, what were the thoughts that you were having, and then get back to the grading. And after the grading, after a couple of sessions, you'll have this whole list of things that your brain wants to distract you with. Go through those things and then think and feel them deliberately. Take some time, like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, read through them and really feel all the emotions and have all the thoughts about it. Because when you do this separately, it kind of gives your brain like an, oh, I think those things are important, but I don't have to do them during grading. Like, we'll get to these. These are very important. But now that we've put them on paper, I can focus on doing the grading first. And then after the grading, we get to freak out and have all the emotions and all the thoughts about the students and the results and the grades and the scores. And then also about our teaching. And once you realize that these are all just things in your mind, you can also have some sympathy for yourself. You have some empathy, you have some compassion where it's like, it's okay, it's fine. We can worry about this separately. And then you go and worry about it separately, not during your grading time. And the more you do this, also, the more you realize that the worrying about it doesn't actually make a difference. The only thing worrying about those things does is make you feel very bad in the moment. When you're deliberately sitting down to think about the list of all the things you want to take a mental roundabout towards, you can have a sense of ownership, and you get this idea of these are just thoughts that I can think, but you can also not think them. And instead, ask yourself, now that I've done all this grading, where are my opportunities? What haven't I tried yet? What are some amazing things that I can come up with to make this differently? One of the things that I came up with while doing this process, I was like, you know what? We're going to spend more time with the test after it's been graded so everybody gets to see what their mistakes were. And I'm going to normalize it. I'm going to teach them that low grades or quote unquote bad grades aren't bad. It just means we have more to learn. There is so many more opportunities for us to improve and take a step further. And if I was only in the tailspin of, oh, I haven't taught this properly, or the students are doing bad, or whatever my mind wants to then think about, I didn't have that opportunity to move forward from it. So that is my top tip to get grading done efficiently. Make sure that you are watching your brain go on these little excursions away from the grading, write down where the excursion wants to go, and take the excursion later. And then, with a sense of compassion for yourself, try not to stay in it too long. Try not to get yourself onto this spin that goes way too far down. Have some compassion for yourself. Like, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I move on and move forward from what all the thoughts that I've had during this grading? I hope this is useful for you. Please let me know in the comments below, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.